Be with us. Hello, good morning. I'm Samantha Simmons. Joining us for the show, Deirdre Costigan, the Labour MP for Ealing Southall and the Conservative MP for Croydon South, and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp. Welcome to you both. Great to have you on the programme. Well, Deirdre, you say on your website you believe in equality and fairness. Are these cuts to welfare equal and fair?
So before I was elected an MP, Samantha, I used to be the National Officer for Disability Equality for Unison, the country's biggest trade union. And I know there that I dealt with so many disabled workers who were kicked out of their job and ended up on benefits because employers wouldn't make simple changes that would allow them to keep working. And there are so many disabled people who want to work, hundreds of thousands of them. And I'm afraid the last government left them on the scrap heap. There were perverse incentives in the broken welfare system that we've got, which meant that actually it made more sense to say, OK, I'll stay at home, I'll stay on benefits. They weren't given the help they needed to get a job. So what these new changes are doing is, first of all, they will protect those who are most in need. The most disabled people will continue to keep their PIP and there will be no change to the mobility element of PIP. We're also consulting on a new higher rate of universal credit for the most disabled people. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a consultation on what's happening in children's centres. It's not the case that they're closing.
Okay, and in fact, correct that number, it's 12. Chris, to you, last year when you were in power, you said the benefit system was actually too generous. Are you in favour of these cuts?
Well, let's start by correcting some of the things we just heard. We saw clips there of disabled people protesting outside Downing Street at decisions a Labour Prime Minister had made slashing welfare payments. Now, the government's own impact assessment says that hundreds of thousands of extra people will be pushed into poverty, including many children. So that is the effect these changes will have, according to the government's own assessment. Now, nobody thought a Labour government would come in and slash welfare as they are doing. The reason they're slashing welfare is the implications of Rachel Reeves' disastrous budget last October, is as a result of Rachel Reeves' own disastrous decisions.
OK, so what about an alternative scenario here where money is raised by taxing the wealthy? You're a wealthy man. Would you support that?
Well, people who are well off in this country already pay pretty high levels of tax. The top rate of income tax is 45%.
Should they be paying more, even if temporarily?
So the top 1% of earners pay about 30% of all tax. And we've seen figures recently showing that a millionaire is leaving this country every 45 minutes thanks to Labour's regulation, changes to the tax system. Now, it does not serve our national interest, whether you're rich or poor, for some of the most productive people who pay lots of tax already to leave the country.
If the alternative is cutting welfare benefits for the poor and for the disabled, then shouldn't the wealthy be paying their share?
Driving away people that create wealth to Dubai or somewhere doesn't help anybody. It means the rest of us have to pay more tax. The way to address this issue is to get the economy growing. It'll keep our society safer.
So you've given some good examples of where it has worked so far there, but critics are saying that this technology is actually being introduced without any legislation, without any oversight. And what guarantees are there that images will immediately be deleted?
So that's not entirely true. So the police have common law powers to fight crime. There was a court case about 4 years ago. In fact, the only, I think, case of mistaken identity in Croydon was the twin brother of the wanted person. All kinds of restrictions like that. That's been enshrined in the police's, they call it authorised professional practice. So there are really clear guidelines in place to make sure that it's run properly, it's run fairly, there's no discrimination, and that the public can have confidence in it. And all I can say from sort of the experience in Croydon is it really is working in keeping Croydon safer.
Deirdre, you've been nodding a lot to what Chris has been saying. Are you in support of this kind of system? And what's the cost? Do you think it should be rolled out across London?
Yeah, I think outbreak of cross-party agreement on this one. Certainly, I agree. People want to feel safe in London, and I think this has been successful in catching some of the worst criminals, rapists, people involved in domestic abuse. So I think it's something that we should support, and I'm satisfied that the Mayor has ensured that there is sufficient safeguards in place. There is a committee that is overseeing the use of the technology, and I think it goes alongside other changes that the new Labour government has brought in. So there is increasing numbers of police powers that the new government is bringing in that go alongside this kind of technology.
What's the kind of cost of this? Is it to replace bobbies on the beat? Do they work in conjunction? Is somebody actually monitoring those feeds? Is it all across London, is it?
Well, I mean, you know what? The results they get from this are so extraordinary that it's a far better use of police time than any other activity they may be undertaking. So it's a way of making the police officers we have, and by the way, the last government delivered record ever numbers of police officers across England. I'm afraid, Deirdre,
I'm afraid it's not true.
I'm afraid it's a fact.
It
is
not
true.
You took £1 billion
Hang on a sec.
No,
Deirdre, with great respect, hang on. I was the police minister. I was the police minister. It was 140. It was 149,769. It was a record ever number. A record ever number.
People can see what's happening on the street. Nobody believes these numbers.
Look it up. These are facts.
We must leave it there. Thank you so much. My thanks to Deirdre and to Chris. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks very much for being with us. See you again next week.
By the way, the last government delivered record ever numbers of police officers across England. I'm afraid, Deirdre.
I'm afraid it's not true.
I'm afraid it's a fact. It is true.
You took £1 billion.
Hang on a sec. Deirdre, with great respect, hang on. I was the police minister. I was the police minister. It was 140. It was 149,769. It was a record ever number.
Nobody believes these figures, Chris. People can see what's happening on the street. Nobody believes these numbers.
Look it up. These are facts.
We must leave it there. Thank you so much. My thanks to Deirdre and to Chris. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks very much for being with us. See you again next week.